Hello, welcome to another episode of What Are You Selling? With me today is Jennifer Tempest, who is going to talk to us about her new release, which came out in September this year, I believe. The Cardinal War. So, Jennifer, how are you today? How are you doing?
Good. It's Sunday, so end of the weekend, but still enjoying it.
Yeah. Did you have that was a long weekend for you as well, wasn't it? This week.
No, I'm in Canada, so.
Of course, yeah. So
yeah.
you had it already. You had it last month.
Yeah, exactly.
You got it nice and early. Whereabouts in Canada are you based?
In Alberta.
Oh, so did you get the snow today?
No snow today, but we've had a lot of rain recently, which is more annoying actually, because then it gets all icy. Because we have had some snow recently.
Yeah. Honestly, you can't really send people out to play outside when it's raining either. When it's snowing, you just like out you go and enjoy yourself if you have any children that are living in the house. But rain is a different story altogether.
Yeah.
It
gets everything wet.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't you tell everyone that's watching or listening, and if you're watching on YouTube and it's your first time at the channel, or maybe it isn't, just give us a subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Music, then give us a follow as well. So Jennifer, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. As you mentioned, I'm Jennifer. I love to write. Hence by the What Are We Selling? And but I love to also do board games. We have a collection of like 200 board games, I think. It's probably out of control, but that's okay. I also love doing escape rooms, which I've done 72 of. So when I do something for like collecting or that kind of thing, I kind of go hard on it. And then, of course, reading. I'll read anything people recommend, but I do tend to stick with fantasy for the most part, especially if someone recommends me a book about dragons. I got my first tattoo this year with the dragon on it, so.
Very good. I have a tattoo of a dragon as well, so you can get a little bit of it there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, mine's on my shoulder, so it's hard to see, but.
Yeah, mine's just there. It's one of those. I got it when I was very, very young, and it was back when you kind of had to hide them if you were working. So I had to I really wanted it to be on my hand here, the head of it. But I was like, my boss at work was like, you can't do that.
Yeah. Actually, the place I went to said they wouldn't even do hand tattoos unless you've had like a bunch of tattoos.
Oh yeah.
For the same reason, I think, just there's still some worry about it, and it was fingers, hands, and face. I think with the 3 that they wouldn't do.
Yeah, imagine going for your first tattoo and it's a face one. That is real commitment.
Yeah.
What are you here for today? I'm just gonna get my whole forehead done.
Yeah. Well, even the one I got's like this big, so it was bigger than they expected for a first time, but
cool.
Figured why not?
Why not? Are you gonna get any more? Have you got the taste?
I'm not sure yet. The only one I want is when I know for sure when my grandma eventually passes away. Her name's Ivy, so I definitely want to get a ring of Ivy. But hopefully I won't have to get that for a few years yet.
Yeah.
She actually lives in England, so.
Oh, does she? Yeah. I live. I sound English, but I live in Ireland. I live in Galway.
Okay.
I've been here. I grew up in England, but I've been back here now for about 12 years now. But my accent has gotten stronger for some reason since I came here.
Well, she's actually from Ireland originally, so Northern Ireland in Belfast.
There we go. That's just what a strange coincidence.
Yeah.
So you're a big reader. You're big into board games. What's your favorite board game?
Well, I think right now it'd be Wingspan. It's a nice combination of stuff, of like ways to play it. There's not one strategy, which is nice. And it's about birds, which are pretty, and they have fun little mechanics where you get points for which way the beak's facing. Which is just, they put in the rules. It's just because they want people to look at their artwork.
Oh, right.
So
Okay. Yeah.
It's just a little fun mechanic.
And have you done any escape rooms recently, or they?
I think it's been about maybe a month since I've done one, which for me is a bit.
Yeah, I
thought you were
going to say like a year or something. Then it's like, it's been a long time, but like a month. Like, is it? Yeah.
Well, I've done some, like I did one in Manchester when I was last there. Right. So I do try and do them when I go to different places as well. And we're doing one in Italy when hopefully we go next year.
Cool. That's great. I've never done one. Never
It's a lot
ever
of fun.
done one. I'd love to do one, but just never got around to it.
They're
Maybe,
definitely a lot of fun. I recommend.
yeah. So obviously you mentioned writing as well, that you enjoy writing, which is a good thing, seeing as you are a writer and you're a published author. So it'd be terrible if you hated it. It's like, I hate doing this. So why don't you? When did you? I mean, did you always want to become a writer?
I think it started mostly in grade 3, so I was about 8. The teacher I had, we actually did some little coiled books. I still have them actually, but they were little stories. Some of them were research based, like I did one on an alligator, just did some research, but I also did 2 just fiction fantasy ones, of course, because one was a magic cat that changed color, as well as one that had leprechauns in it. So I always started with the fantasy writing as well. And then since then, I just kind of kept writing. I know in junior high, I wrote a lot more. And then I have a full binder full of some I've started, some short stories I've written. I used to do them in university about my friends. So they were just like 2-pagers, but they were just like personalized ones. And then I started getting longer and longer.
It's like, just can't stop this, but have to write some books.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of you mentioned that you read fantasy, particularly things with dragon. I'm a big fantasy reader and obviously writer as well. I have my own fantasy books. So what was your kind of first love in fantasy? What was it that got you into that genre?
I'm just looking at my bookshelf here. I think I know the first author for sure was Mercedes Lackey, was definitely the first one that drew me in, and she's still my favorite. I love all of her books. Some of them are dragons, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I could pinpoint my very first one. Probably Harry Potter, actually.
Right.
My dad used to read to me, and then he read the first ones to me, and then I finished. By that time, I could read myself, so I read the rest of them myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably actually.
Harry Potter's a really good entry point for a lot of people for fantasy, because it's not something that, it's not something that has like really in-depth mechanics of like how everything works. It's kind of, it has that familiar aspect of it, but it does have that depth as well that goes on in the background.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was like the first books, but I think the Mercedes Lackey was the first one where I really started collecting and really diving into certain genres and authors specifically.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about your writing journey. So is it, you mean you have the Cardinal War that's out at the moment, and we'll talk about that more particularly in a little while. But have you been writing kind of short stories and anthologies, or have you just been kind of practicing for yourself and working up towards the novel?
Yeah, so I used to write short stories a lot, and then I think I just started getting more ideas that I wanted to tell, or I got better at writing as well, and just wanted to delve into the characters, the settings, just wanted to expand the world. So I wrote a couple that were they're probably only 15,000 words or so, 10 to 15. And then when I hit the Cardinal War, for something, it twinged in me that I was like, this is the one. But I wrote a couple that were a little shorter, but still in that realm that I could probably make longer if I wanted to, and work to that. I don't know if I'll ever get to novel length because that's like 50,000 words. It's more, I don't want to push a story if it doesn't have it in it. I don't want to just have random fluff for the sake of getting to that novel. But I kind of just write and see where the story takes me a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So let's talk about the Cardinal War. And so just sell it to me and people that are watching.
So the Cardinal War is a fantasy book, young adults, but of course, young adults, anyone can read it really. There is an emperor that passes away in the city of Mordell, which is in the Empire of Frethiel. And the emperor passed away with no known heirs. So the surrounding manors, there's 4 of them, which gives you the cardinal points. And they all want to put their kid on the throne, or one of their children, so they have to fight for it. But the story takes place from one of the 2 messengers of the emperor, Diethy, and his brother is Giskel, but it mostly takes place from Diethy's point of view. as well as one of the young thieves in the story, Eileen. And they have to kind of work this new world, and there's some secrets revealed and some friendships, and just kind of work out where they fit in now and what's going to happen to them.
It's a great premise that, you know, something is there and in one way, and then it's broken, and there's all this kind of chaos and uncertainty for people to navigate. What was your inspiration for it? 'Cause, you know, you said before, like, you were kind of doing a few things and you kind of said the Cardinal War was the one to kind of work on. So do you remember when you first got the idea for it?
The one thing I remember for sure is I read a book that had characters with wings in them, and that was like, my story is going to have characters with wings on them. Not in the same sense. It was definitely, that was quite a dark book I read. It's definitely not going to be in the same vein of it, but it was definitely going to have wings. That was my main goal. And then because it was a few years ago, I actually wrote the book, and then I kind of thought about publishing it, decided I maybe wasn't good enough, but I worked on it and decided, no, this is a good work, and published it this year. But so it was this year was more a lot of editing and fluff, making sure it was a good solid piece. So the main thing I remember is the wings, but otherwise I just wanted to write about fantasy. And then Celtic names was a big one. I always look at a book of Celtic names for some reason, so I pick them out of there so they have meanings that are relevant to the character. And other than that, it just kind of came to me.
So what is your kind of process of writing? Do you sit down, and I think I already know the answer to this, but do you sit down with like an idea and a plan, or is it basically you have the inkling of idea and you see where the story takes you?
Surprisingly, because you think I would just randomly see where it takes me, I do an outline a little bit. So I do have, say, a couple sentences for each chapter. Some of the chapters expand or I get more chapters, but I do a rough outline. I do tend to write the ending first, at least a rough ending, so I know where I'm going. And then I write the beginning usually, and then I just write whatever chapter inspires me that day. Maybe more conflict, maybe more dialogue. Just depends how I'm feeling. And then some chapters, like with the current one I'm writing, is just I added 3 new chapters just because.
So you jump around a little bit. You don't write it in a, yeah, that's interesting. Have you tried ever writing it in a linear kind of way, or?
I have. I do find sometimes with, especially if it's more of a dialogue heavy or an action heavy, sometimes I'm just not inspired to write that type of chapter. So it just means I'm sitting staring at the screen, which I don't find is very productive. So I'd rather just kind of write. Sometimes I have to push myself a little bit, of course, but yeah, I just write as it comes. And I just do a lot of checking because it does result in sometimes timelines, even time of day, just being a little askew. So I do work on that to make sure that still follows with my jumping around.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know I work linear, but I think it's just the way my brain works. It just wouldn't allow me to do it any other way. But I completely get what you're saying about when you have to do a certain kind of scene and you're just not kind of in the mood for it, and you have to kind of force your way through it. I've been in that position so many times where I'm just like, I just want to do a bit where they're just sat in a pub talking.
Yeah.
I have to do this huge big battle, and it's like, yeah. I don't think I'd be able to do it. I think my brain would just rebel too much.
Yeah, I'm surprised I can do it for how organized I normally am, but it works for me, so
Yeah,
I'll keep going with it.
Yeah, however it works is the best way. So the Cardinal War, is it does it tell a full story, or is there more to come?
It does tell a full story. There is bits and pieces I definitely could extrapolate a point from and then write maybe another standalone story, but it's not going to be a sequel that's coming out per se.
Okay.
But it is, the characters will come back for sure.
Excellent. I get it. So it's all just stories that are going to be set in the same setting, the same world.
Yeah, so they're all going to be set in the same empire. I may still return to cities. I don't know if we're ready to talk about this, but the next one is probably going to be just in the far side of the empire. But there may be a sequel to that one. I haven't decided. That goes back to Mordale. So a lot of the characters still show up in different ones, some new characters, but just thought I'd kind of share my world and go from there.
Yeah, why not? You've created a world, and there's lots of other stories that take place in the world, isn't there?
Yeah. And that's where my organization comes in, because I have like a full Word document of what each city's like, how long it takes to get between cities,
Right.
all that detail.
Yeah. So obviously, it seems like you really enjoy the writing side of it. You enjoy creating the stories and the worlds. What is it since thinking that you were going to publish this book? What's been the kind of thing you've least enjoyed about the whole kind of process?
I think just I gotta work on the self-promoting part. I know it's a good story for me. I know it's, of course, with any book, not everyone's gonna like
Mm.
everything rather. But I just gotta be confident in my book and show off that it really is a really good book, and it's sold well so far. But just gotta, and I don't have experience with the marketing per se, so just gotta learn the tricks of the trade with that, and keep self-promoting.
Yeah. Did you enjoy that side of it, or does it not come as naturally
No,
to
it
you?
actually been pretty good. I did a book launch, which was really fun. We did it outside, of course, but it was nice. It was a beautiful day for that, and I had people, mostly friends. I had a couple random people come, which was nice from the neighborhood. But yeah, it was good, and people have contacted me for signed books, which is nice. Which is most of why we did the book signing, is so people could get signed copies if they wanted.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a really enjoyable day.
Excellent. That's good. So what is next for you then? So the first book is out. You're working on a second on a one set in the same world. Is that your focus at the moment, or is it? And what's your kind of timeline for that in terms of releasing it?
I'm hoping next year. I'm about, again, I can't say I'm in on chapter 6 or something, because I like to jump randomly,
Yeah.
but I am about, what is that? I think I was at 16,000 words when I last checked. But I don't tend to write just like the 500 a day. I just write till I'm out of inspiration. So sometimes that's a couple thousand words in a day. But yeah, so that one will take place in the city of Strongwater, which is on the other side. I do have a map in the Cardinal War, but there will be a map now at the beginning of the book, that my friend's actually designing for me to make it little elevated. So that would be a nice map at the beginning, like all fantasy books have.
We love maps.
Yep.
We love
And yeah, it's the working title is The Lake Dispute. I haven't 100% decided if I'm going to stick with it, but it's still there. So clearly it resonates with me in some level.
Yeah, it's there until it isn't, and if it's always there, it's always there. That's the
Yeah.
way it is, isn't it? Yeah. So, where can people listening find you on the internet? And all of the links to your social media and for the book will be in the comment section below as well. So do check those out. But why don't you tell us where we can find you?
So on my website, it's probably the easiest. It's just jennifertempestbooks.com. Not only do I have there's Amazon links, there's Barnes and Noble's links for American, or if you just want to order from there. There's an Indigo online link, Kobo's, different things like that. It is available, of course, on like UK Amazon, Australian Amazon. But they're also on my website as blogs, which I do monthly, just for a little extra, little fun I like to write. And I'm also on there. It'll show my Facebook link. I have an author page, as well as my Goodreads and my Instagram.
Well, thanks so much for coming on. The Cardinal War sounds great, and I'll be checking it out myself. And really good luck for the rest of the year with selling it. And I can't wait to see you again when the second one comes out.
Perfect. Thank you so much for all of this. It's been a real pleasure.